So we will welcome our guest Vanshika Agrawal. Hey, hi Vanshika, how are you?
Hi Anubhav, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You must be already aware of Vanshika because we have done two videos previous to this. One was the system design interview, and other one was for Confluent interview experience. So you can check out both. So before we jump directly into your LinkedIn interview experience, I would like you to quickly share your or tell about your journey.
Yeah, so like all engineering, my journey also started like a JEE aspirant. I was not able to get into any IITs or NITs. So then I joined a private college. It's called Cummins College of Engineering for Women, and it's based out of Pune. So then I got to know about DSA. I started practicing that. I cracked some offers. Like I got my first internship at Oracle. It was a summer internship for 2 months, and I got a PPO as well there, and I was placed there. But somehow I wasn't satisfied with my role at Oracle, and that I was at Oracle. I was always very fascinated by FANG companies. So when a recruiter reached out to me from Google saying that there's an opening and are you interested? It was like um, all of my dreams were coming true. And then I sort of did the interview. I was able to clear it, and I landed my job as a software engineer L3 at Google. But then, like all dreams, not everything is as good as it looks from the outside. So he was very rewarding at Google, but somehow I felt that there was something lacking there, and I wanted growth in my career. So I think by the end of 2025, I was certain that now it's time for me to move on from Google. And then I decided to interview outside. So I was applying to a lot of jobs. I applied to a lot of companies, maybe tens or 20 or more companies. And one of the companies that I applied to was LinkedIn. So that's how my journey sort of started.
That's great. So we'll directly jump into your LinkedIn interview experience now. So how did the opportunity happen? I mean, did you applied via referral or it was like HR reached out to you?
So I applied via referral. I'd asked a friend of mine to refer me to LinkedIn. So, and then the recruiter or the talent sourcer. So actually, there are two different kinds of people who are involved in recruiting at big companies. One is the talent sourcer. Other is the person who will sort of scout you and look for new candidates. And then later on, when you are in the offer stage, that's when the recruiter comes into the play. So after the referral was applied to my job ID, the sourcer sort of came in. But I'm not very sure if it was because of the referral that the sourcer sought me out, or she had done it independently. I'm not very sure about that because the both the jobs were different. The one that I applied to and the one with which she came forward for me to set up interview at LinkedIn.
Okay. So that makes sense. Either it could be via LinkedIn because you have good number of followers there, or it could be via a referral. Did you had any online assessment in your interview rounds?
No, there was no online assessment. The recruiter called me on a phone call, and she just explained what the process will look like. She told me that there will be one screening round, two coding rounds, one HRE round, and one managerial round.
Okay.
So after I got to know, and then she sent some prep materials, which is like a boilerplate for almost all companies, big tech companies.
Makes sense. Can we go round by round? I mean, each round in detail. Let's
Sure.
start with the DSA, the very first round.
Yeah. So the first round was the screening round. So here they asked me one or two DSA questions and there were multiple OS related questions that were asked. So I don't remember the exact questions.
You're saying you were asked operating system related questions in the
Yes,
screening round, along with the
correct.
DSA round.
Exactly. So the screening round had one or two DSA questions.
What was the
And
difficulty of those? Was it lead code, medium, hard?
it was, I can tell you the exact questions also. It was lead code medium. So there's a very popular question on lead code. It's called number of islands. It's basically graph traversal
Yeah.
problem with
Number
can
of
be
connected
solved.
components.
Yes. It can be solved using DFS or DRT. So they'll easily find it on lead code. So that was the coding question that was asked. And there were multiple operating system related questions. I don't remember any of those, but you can find it on either LeetCode Discuss if you check for LinkedIn questions asked, or if you study basic operating system concepts, you'll be able to get
So
them.
nothing fancy, nothing very difficult, just the basic operating system like Page, Cashbase, and
LinkedIn caching, etc.
okay.
And there were some questions related to database management systems that were asked, like, but they were very basic, like when do you use an RDBMS, do you have knowledge on Cassandra, and so on. And I think there was one question related to networking as well, but I don't remember the question. So you have to be a little bit thorough, or you should have some kind of revision of computer concepts on this, like operating system, database management system, and computer networks before you go for this round. And it was only in this round that these questions were asked. No other rounds consisted of questions of these kind of nature.
Okay, so it makes sense because it was a screening round, so they had little diversity. Okay, makes sense. So, what was your next round after this?
The next round was our full DSA round. There were two questions asked. Both were medium to hard. So these were also the standard LeetCode questions. There's a question on level order traversal on nested structures. So basically, you need to process each element level by level using a queue and then multiply those levels with the current depth. It's called nested list weighted sum.
Okay.
I think that's the name on LeetCode. So that's also a pretty standard question. And the second question that was asked was house rubber DP question, and it's very famous on LeetCode.
Yeah, pretty
So
straightforward question. Yeah.
yeah, and then the next round was also a DSA round. Same like it the same concept that there were two questions asked, but I felt the difficulty was a little higher. So there's a question. The first question that was asked was that we needed to use BSS to sort of store some markers to preserve a structure that we had. So there was a binary tree, and we had to basically serialize the binary tree, write that code, and deserialize the binary tree, write that code as well. So I felt that this was a little time consuming because this question had two parts in it, and then longest palindromic subsequence was the second question asked.
Okay.
For both the questions, like if you know them, you can do it, but it takes a little time. I felt that all the rounds were 1 hour long, and 5 minutes was for your introduction, and 5 minutes for the outro, or if you have any questions regarding the company. So essentially, you were getting 50 minutes to solve two LeetCode medium hard questions, which I felt was a little tight. So I think the difficulty in LinkedIn comes from that they expect a lot of speed and they ask more number of questions in this time. Contrasting this to Google's approach, they'll ask you just one question
With a lot of follow ups.
with a lot of forwards. So yeah.
Okay, so the second question was longest palindromic subsequence or
Yes.
subsequence?
Yes, subsequence. So we had to convert it into an LCS problem
Yeah.
and then reverse the string and then apply the.
Yep. Otherwise, it would be very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, like pick the middle and expand. I mean, it's a very straightforward question. So we'll move to the third round, I think. Third, right? Third,
Yes.
was it a system design or LLD?
HLD. It was a system design, high level design interview.
Okay.
So that was actually the fourth round. It became the stream round as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So for HLD, I was asked a question. I had to design a metrics monitoring system, and the system should support metrics collection, aggregation, querying, visualization, alerting, and dashboarding as well. There were two interviewers in this round. I was not aware of this, and I was caught very off guard with this round because I thought that only one person would be getting it. And so, just for context, I had applied for the software engineer role at LinkedIn, and this round was taken senior software engineer roles. So I will get more details on this later on. This is important, and that's why I specified it in this way. Then some discussion areas in the HLD round were around ton series database design, then roll-ups and detention policies, some ingestion pipeline related questions, CAP theorem discussion, distributed system discussion, scalability, fault tolerance, and observability. Like it was a very in-depth round, I felt. Yeah. So that was the overall expectation in the equality round. And then the last round was the managerial round.
Okay.
So initially I thought that the team that I would be joining, the person from that team would be my interviewer, but that was not the case. He was from some other team. And then he sort of described the one that was happening in his team. He asked me about my background, what I had done at Google, what I had done at Oracle, and any special or interesting projects I've worked on. And he also asked me some system design questions, but they were very basic. Like it was just related to the rounds that I had done before. Like he was just asking what was asked to you, and then he sort of drilled deep on some of those questions. So no special preparation required except for knowing your resume pretty well and knowing your work at your previous company pretty well.
That makes sense. I have some follow-ups on the HLD round because that's the most important round for SD2s and above role. What was the expectation? I mean, knowing in depth or knowing it all? I mean, since you were asked a lot of questions, where were they expecting you to know each answer in detail, or was it just knowing okay what is fault tolerant, and what all timestamp database? Let's say 5 questions. So what was the expectation?
As I said, there were two interviewers. According to my understanding, the first interviewer's expectation, the one who was driving the interview, his expectation was that I know the system end to end. Like I know every part of the system. And the second interviewer's job was to drill deep on some components of the system. So I think the ask at LinkedIn is that you should know the breadth as well as the depth if possible. I think first, so just a small correction here. This was not an SD2 role. This was an SD1 role only. So LinkedIn, the hierarchy at LinkedIn is a little different compared to other fan companies. The software engineer role at LinkedIn, pay wise and job wise, actually overlaps with L4 at Google and L3, like early L4 and L3. So they have a different kind of
They are different bands, just like Microsoft L61 and L62.
software engineer. It's not an explicit band that they call out. The role will remain the same. But if you are an outside person, you will be offered this role if your experience is less than 4 years.
Okay.
And the compensation also matches Google's early L4 application. So maybe that's why they wanted me to know the breadth of the system, but a little bit of depth as well.
So, did they discuss trade-offs between two solutions? I mean, did they ask you to draw the trade-offs?
No, I wasn't asked to draw the trade-offs, but I was asked to tell multiple approaches. Like if I was using a particular component, the ask was that they wanted me to know what other alternatives are present for the same. So if I was using a relational database, they wanted me to know why not did I use a non-relational database.
Yeah, that's a
or-
trade-off, right? I mean, that's a trade-off between two solutions. I mean, why not this and why this?
But they did ask me
Okay.
a lot of trade-offs
Okay,
in the
okay.
sense it was a 45-minute drive.
Mhm.
So the depth was a little limited, but the breadth was asked exclusively. And the trade-offs is something that I offered as an afterthought, not primarily driving the interview.
Makes sense.
Like while I was driving the interview.
Makes sense. So let's say you have already given this round. Now you know how well you performed or how bad you performed. So let's say if you have to give the same round again, how would you do differently now? What mistakes you thought you did during the interview?
Yeah, a little bit of what reflection I have that could be a little biased as well because the viewer had given some feedback to my recruiter, which I mirror, and I had said it the same during my interview as well. So the feedback that I had received is that depth-wise, I did not have a lot of depth when I was explaining some of the components. So I think I also agreed with what the interviewer had said at that time and what the recruiter told me. And that was because this was a completely new question for me. Like system design wise, I had not designed an alerting system in practice before. For other companies, most of the questions that I was asked, those were standard questions which I had already practiced. So this the first time that I had to actually think about a lot of trade-offs and questions, and that is why I felt that the depth in this interview that I had given was not as high. But since my role was an SME role, like a software developer slash tech engineer at LinkedIn, I was able to clear the interview. So basically, I was able to gather the requirements properly, understand the API endpoints properly. The high level architecture was also decent. It was the deep dive, the bottlenecks that was the problem, and the trade off discussion that was sort of the problem in my case. So, like, I remember there was one particular question that first the state was given as very low to me, and then the follow up question was that what if there are like 1 million active users every day? What how will your solution change? So I don't think I gave a very good answer to that question, and that is something that I know now. But yeah, I think that's how we learned. So
That makes sense. I think that's how we learn. I mean, I mostly take feedbacks. I mean, once I complete the round, I go through and see what all I did wrong and what I did good. Based on that, I decide whether I should pass myself or not. Okay, last question on your rounds. The last round was a managerial round, right? The
yes.
hiring manager round. So in during a hiring manager round, did you prepare in a certain way, or it was like you just went off without, I mean, practicing any behavioral question? What kind of question were asked? Was it something that you had already experienced, or it was complete new, or and then you had used some star technique to answer it?
Yeah. So uh for behavioral rounds, everyone says to use STAR techniques, but this is maybe controversial as well. I personally am never able to use STAR properly during interviews. Like I try to stick to this, but in my opinion, managerial rounds are more conversationally. So I kind of improvise depending on the situation. So personally, I don't think I've ever stuck to the star technique properly. Though I don't think a star technique works for me. But if it works for you, you can try that. What I did to practice the search rounds is that I used ChatGPT. So I made ChatGPT my mock interviewer, and I said that I'm applying for this company. This is the role, and these are the details about the job. Can you please become my mock interviewer? And then I sent my resume to ChatGPT, and I said I have worked on all this. All of this I'm doing using like ChatGPT audio. Then I made ChatGPT ask me questions. Then I made ChatGPT ask me follow-up questions as well wherever I thought there could be a follow up. So I think that was a better technique for me personally to practice. And this helped me a lot because I think I sometimes say a lot of global barbarism as well. I sort of get carried away and I speak a little too much. So practicing in this way helped me a lot because ChatGPT used to give me feedback saying that okay now the garbage has been now you need to stop. So I think that's a good technique you can try. And if Star works for you, then definitely you should go ahead with Star. Personally, for me, it is not very good.
That's amazing. Good insights on how to use AI during your interview prep. Not just DSA, HLD, LLD, but your behavioral as well. And we have a voice feature as well, right? I mean, you can just voice it out. You don't need to explicitly type any of your answers. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I used to use the voice feature a lot because I used to get tired of typing. So I used the voice feature in ChatGPT, and I think ChatGPT Pro or yeah, ChatGPT Go is what I use. The free ChatGPT is not that good. So if anyone is preparing for interview, like in ChatGPT Go is better.
I mean, any free version of these AI tools are pretty bad. I mean, you will hit the token usages quite fast.
Correct.
Okay. So some quick questions around like comparing your experience at Google with the LinkedIn interviews? I mean, how was it? How difficult was LinkedIn as compared to Google interviews, or maybe other interviews that you're giving?
Yeah, so I think interview wise, I would like to say that Google interviews are on a different league compared to LinkedIn interviews
I think
because
it's not
LinkedIn
fair
was
to compare even because when you joined Google, you joined as a fresher, almost a fresher, and you must have had just DSA questions, but here you had more than DSA.
but Google does not ask HLD questions even for SJP roles as far as I know. Like
They have started. I mean, you can opt.
okay, so that's a new change. But when I was interviewing at that time, it was that both L3s and L4 AFS asked DSA questions. So in that way, the DSA questions are pretty unique. Like you won't find such questions anywhere. But the questions that were asked in LinkedIn, most of them were the same ones that we can easily find on LinkedIn. So I felt that the questions in LinkedIn were pretty standard. What they were checking was your speed and your accuracy more than anything else. And in Google, I was just expected to write the code, not run it. But in LinkedIn, I was expected to write the code, write a main function and run it on the code editor as well to show that my solution works.
That makes it more difficult at Google because at Google there will be always an ambiguity whether your code was, I mean, whether it was a runnable code or not, or it had some bugs because they might check it later if it is a proper code or not.
That's why I said Google interviews are in another league.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, where do you think people will get most rejected at LinkedIn interview? Will it be the DSA round, which I feel not, because if you're preparing, let's say even Neat Code 150 or standard 2 to 300 famous problems, you will be able to crack LinkedIn's DSA rounds, but not the HLD. What is your take on that? That's my view.
Mm, according to me, the screening round is also pretty unique. Like they're asking you computer science fundamentals. Not a lot of companies are there, so not a lot of candidates prepare for that. That's one place where you can get rejected. The second is of course assessable round because I think when there are more than one interviewers in your interview, a lot of candidates fail there as well because they get scared. There are a lot of confidence issues. I also personally failed the same thing, but I tried to calm myself down somehow. So yeah. So I think these two rounds, the screening and the HLD round, the fun to where candidates could fail very easily.
That makes sense. I think the other interviewer could be shadowing him, shadowing the main interviewer. That's a very common pattern seen at other companies like Amazon.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That is. So last question: how long did this complete process took? The LinkedIn interviews altogether.
Okay. I think this was one of the fastest offers that I got. So my interviews started in the last week of December or first week of January. I can it started in first week of January. Within 2 weeks, all of the rounds were done. There were only 2 or 3 reschedules, which is very less than what I had expected. And I got the offer on 5th Feb, I think. So you could say within a month everything was clear, but only delay from my end. So the recruiter had reached out to me in end of November, but I had said I'm not ready to interview right now because I was in UK at some other company at that time. So I asked her, can we schedule it maybe in mid-December? But then she said that LinkedIn has a policy of year-end holidays or something. So it's better that I interview in January. So that's what I did.
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll stop asking questions on your own. Maybe we'll move forward to your preparation journey. I mean, can you share some resources from where you prepared and how much time it took for you, or you were already preparing and this was the another interview that you gave?
Yeah, so actually I was already preparing since September 2025. Like I unofficially started preparing from July 2025. At that time, I was not getting a lot of calls, so I kind of got depressed. I wasn't studying properly. In July and August, I was just reading a system design book by Alex Zhu. He has two-part system design books.
Yeah, volume
So
one and volume two. Yeah.
I read both of them cover to cover. And then from September, I started preparing for systems design and DSA again. And system design, the best resources, I think I've already mentioned in all of my interviews, Hello Interview. Uh, like all of my podcasts in this channel, I've told that Hello Interview is hands down the best resource, and I'm not getting paid to say this. So that was the best resource for system design, in my opinion. Like, it's the best structured way to learn system design. But if you're a beginner, definitely don't go and check out the site at first because you'll not understand a lot of context. I feel that you can either watch their videos first or read some other basic material on system design. Even Alex Wolfscope was great for that. Because I was a complete beginner in system design. I'd never given system design rounds before. So the books definitely helped me a lot. And for DSA standard, you can pick either Leap Code Sheet or TUF, Take to Forward Sheet, anything works. And Leap Code questions, you need to practice Leap Code questions. Ain't no thing in DSA. But for system design, I think Hello Interview and Alex is my goal.
So now some piece of advice from your side to someone who's preparing or want to prepare. He's an SD2 or maybe an SD1. Want to switch to some other company along with their full-time job. Since you tackled this problem, so what would be your advice? How one should manage time, and what should be the mindset while preparing?
Yeah, so I think with respect to the mindset, if you're sure of why you want to switch, you would not need a lot of motivation. Uh, you'll study on your own.
Very underrated advice, I would say.
With respect to time, I think first you should start with 1 hour and then try to increase it if possible. If not, use weekends. You can study for 6 hours, 8 hours, how much ever you want to on weekends.
On weekends, right?
All weekends and all the leaves that you get. Like, even if you're getting the public day holidays, you have to study.
तो मजा नहीं.
Also read, this is very controversial, but I read there was this person, he wanted to switch from Microsoft. Now I think he's in Atlassian. And he used to use his sick leave also to study. So you can try that, but it's not my advice. I'm just saying something that I read on LinkedIn. So you can use that
People
as
who
well.
really want to switch, they will find their way.
Yeah.
Legal, illegal, no matter.
Not endorsing anything here.
Yep.
So yeah, use your needs properly, and if you're consistent, and yeah, you should know, if you know that you want to switch, you should be adamant on that. You should not try to change your thought process in the middle, because you're definitely going to want to switch again. If not now, in 2 or 3 months, you will like to switch. But you have wasted 2 or 3 months because you got into the same decision because you were told something by your team or your manager. So don't let that affect your decision. If you are sure that you want to switch, do not go back on that decision. And the earlier you know, the better it is, because time is a factor which is very rare right now, especially with the AI. You are expected to do well, so you do not have a lot of time. So the longer time you get for preparation, it's better. That's why I said do not change your mind that we don't want to switch, because if once you put it in your mind, it will come back. At every minor inconvenience, it will come back. So it's better that you stay focused and you keep preparing.
Makes sense. Great. So we'll end up this podcast with some rapid fire. You have to give a one-word answer to it. So we'll start. What's most underrated DSA topic?
Deep.
DP?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your hardest coding interview? I mean, in company interview round.
Google round 2.
Okay. One thing that candidate fake too much during their interview.
Fake.
Yeah.
Whatever they've written on their resume.
Big. Best preparation resource for, let's say, I mean, you have already told for HLD. Let's say for DSA or LLD.
For DSA, LeetCode.uf. For LLD, on EUF or by Byte Coding actually.
One resume mistake that candidates make very often.
Not writing about enough
Enough what?
projects.
Projects. So, do you also mention your personal projects other than your projects that are working in your company?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that instantly impressed interviewers.
Having Google on your resume.
Oh, is it? So, you're coming from your experience. Okay. So, have they ever asked why are you switching from Google?
Every interview and every person after switching has been asking me this question. Everywhere I go, people ask me this question.
Oh. So, now a lot of people will be asking in comments or maybe in your LinkedIn DM. Most important skill beyond coding.
Communication.
Cool. Thank you so much, Vanchika. I think this episode will genuinely help someone who's preparing for SD2 switches or SD1 to SD2 transition. Thank you so much for taking out time from a busy schedule and sharing your LinkedIn interview experience and your journey. Thank you so much, Vanchika. Do you have any ending note, any ending advice that you want to share?
Yeah, I think consistency is what matters, and stop looking for external sources of motivation. The best motivation for you could be your ongoing meetings in your current piece if you want to switch. Yeah, I think that's the only advice I would like to get. And thank you so much for having me here. And I hope everyone enjoyed this with me.
Also, Vanchika will be uploading snippets of this interview experience on her Instagram or maybe on her YouTube. So do check it out. Vanchika, you can tell whatever social medias you're on.
Yeah, so I've just started my Instagram, like posting about my journey on Instagram. You can follow vanshika.techlight there. And I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. You can follow me there as well. You can unbump and mention both of the things in the description.
Cool.
And please like and subscribe.
Yep. If you have enjoyed this conversation, do like, subscribe, hit high button, and let me know which next company you want me to cover as an interview experience video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.